By the end of today's episode, you'll know exactly how to analyze a script the proper way, quickly and without burning yourself out. Welcome to the Actor's Career Compass, where we help aspiring screen actors find high-quality auditions, sign with great agents, and book major roles in legit productions. I'm your host, Martin Benson, and today we'll be covering things on the creative side of acting, stepping away for a moment from the business. You'll learn some recommendations that I have for analyzing a script in such a way that you'll save yourself time, but you'll also do enough analysis that you can deliver a very compelling, interesting performance that casting directors appreciate. We're going to cover character breakdown, the choices you need to make about the whys behind each line, and how to know when your analysis is deep enough, but not too deep. Ready to dive in? All right, so step one, read everything that you can. Okay, so if you're auditioning for a play that's already been performed, read the full script. If you're auditioning for a film and you don't have the entire story available to you, then read everything that they do provide. You just need to get an idea of the context of the particular scene or scenes that you're going to be performing in and who your character is within the story. If you make a choice that is not in alignment with what the story is meant to be, or at least with the information that they provided to you, then the casting director is just going to think that you're lazy or have no idea what you're doing, right? So the choices that you wind up making later are very dependent upon you actually knowing what the project is about. Again, based on how much information is provided. Obviously, you can't know something if there's nothing online about it, so in those cases, you may need to make up your own decisions. All right, step two, you want to figure out who your character is. You want to be clear on how old the character is, what kind of general life they live, like where are they based? Are they fairly wealthy, very poor? Just kind of some basics like that. What kind of life are they living? What kind of work do they do, right? And then you also want to be clear on who they are talking to in the scene. That's obviously important. Sometimes it's not clear, especially if it's a monologue. You don't know who you're talking to, so you may need to make a specific choice there. You should also know that what your character's general relationship is to the person that you're talking to. So, is this person you're talking to your mother or your brother or your best friend? Do you like the person or do you dislike the person, right? So just figure out those basics around your character. And if something's not clear, just make something up. Step three is to figure out why your character is saying the things that they're saying to the other character. What does your character want in general? Like, what is their overall goal for the scene? Are they trying to intimidate the other character? Okay, why? Are they trying to get some information out of the other character? Okay, why? Are they trying to get away from the other character because they don't want to talk to them anymore? Like, what is their goal and why? Step four is to figure out the why behind every line. Okay, now you want to look more closely. Does any line that they say in the script not align with the overall objective that you came up with earlier? If not, figure out why they would say that particular line, right? So chances are it might be an emotional shift, or they might be suddenly wanting something different. If it is an emotional shift, then figure out why, like what's causing the emotional shift to happen there and not at some other point, right? If anything isn't clear, just make something up. For auditions, you're obviously never going to have all the details, so you just might need to make up certain answers to things, and that is called making choices. Now, step five is to stop, okay? Stop at this point. Once you've made those choices on why your character is saying each of those lines and why they're just saying all this stuff in general, like what their goal is, at that point you stop. You don't want to make further choices, meaning do not make choices for how. Only make choices for why. how you're going to deliver a line or how you're going to get something across by the actions that you do should generally not be decided beforehand, or you're going to lose something called your natural instinct. All of us have these natural instincts to behave and speak and do certain things in specific ways. So you want to let your body unconsciously take care of that, and instead you only get clear on the why your character is saying each line. That is something that we're usually almost always consciously aware of, but even if we're not, it can be helpful to get consciously aware of it just so that you're not confused when you're performing. Because if there's a moment where you're confused or you're not sure and you don't know what's going on in the scene, that's where the acting is going to fall apart and casting directors or agents are going to get distracted and just turn it off. So that's the 5-step process of sort of script analysis. And once you've gotten clear on all of those whys, I want you to stop analyzing further than that, because if you don't, you might risk burning yourself out. Or you may make the scene too stilted and forced, okay? As long as you're clear on what you're saying and why you're saying it, that's good enough. Later, once you start recording and watching yourself back, at that point, you can kind of decide if anything feels off or if anything doesn't make sense, and then you can go back and reanalyze that section and be like, oh, maybe my why wasn't clear enough here. But that is honestly pretty much it, at least the way that I teach it when I'm coaching actors on their technique, okay? So all you really have to do is understand what's going on in the scene, who you're talking to, what your objectives are. The clearer that you are on all of that is really, it's just going to make everything so much easier. And then you can start really honing in on certain things if you want to be very particular. But that's usually something that's best left to doing with a coach. It also helps just to make some marks wherever an emotional shift does happen, and then again, write down why it happened. So when you're analyzing the script, if you do feel like, oh, this is why am I saying this? It doesn't make sense. Make a line there and say all right, what is this emotional shift that's going on? Why might I be saying that? Those lines that you're going to make can kind of make it easier later when you're performing to just sort of remember where those changes are. Besides that, though, again, I recommend that you let everything else come naturally when you perform. You don't want to try to show how you're feeling. You just want to actually live it and breathe it. Well, thanks for listening. Now, if you want to dive deeper on performance and you're not quite sure whether your acting ability and technique and script analysis skills are good enough to really start looking for higher level real acting work, then I highly recommend checking out my podcast called Am I Ready for Real Auditions? A Checklist for Actors, which is episode number 75. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to have a better understanding of what exactly you need to have prepared as you start submitting yourself to more and more projects. Check it out. Again, it's episode number 75. Am I Ready for Real Auditions? A Checklist for Actors on the Actors Career Compass. Finally, if you'd like to get some personalized advice, I'd love to hop on a quick Zoom call with you. We'll look at where you are, what you're struggling with, and I'll help you figure out some of the next best steps to take. We can see if one of my one-to-one coaching programs might be a good fit for you. Whenever you're ready, just visit martinbenson.com to set this up. I would love to meet with you. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.